While awards season wrapped up last month, the Texas Rangers could have won a Golden Statue for Best Drama with the story that has evolved over the last 10 days. On March 1st, the team promoted General Manager Jon Daniels to President of Baseball Operations and Rick George to President of Business Operations, effectively leaving Nolan Ryan as solely the team's CEO. This after he held the dual role of President/CEO since March of last year when Chuck Greenberg left. Ryan seriously considered leaving the Rangers because this change left him wondering about his current role. We hadn't heard from Ryan until today. And even now, it's not very clear what he will do next. Ryan released a statement through the Rangers at 2 p.m. on the dot this afternoon, saying this, quote, "Over the last week, Ray Davis, Bob Simpson, and I have been in discussion and met in person. The conversations have been productive, and we have discussed my role as CEO of the organization. We agreed these discussions will continue as we go forward. I am very proud of what the Rangers have accomplished over the last several years, and I believe our preparations for upcoming season are what is important." Ben Rogers, that didn't say very much, but that truly did not clear up or define absolutely anything about Nolan Ryan, his role with the Rangers, and how long he's going to remain with the team.
Yeah, and you know, I'm hearing that it's unclear as to whether or not Nolan's going to stay. A lot of people today were saying on Twitter, "Hey, it looks like Nolan is going to stay. This is great news." However, we could probably slow our roll on that just a little bit. It's not a given that he is going to stay. There's still a lot to be determined here. But unfortunately, and you have to be very careful when you say this because we're talking about a legend here, but I truly feel that this is Nolan's fault. I think that it makes all the sense in the world for Jon Daniels to handle the baseball operations. He's been handling it. He had this thing on the right path even before Nolan got here. And that's not to take anything away from Nolan. Nolan is an absolute legend. I love what he stands for. He stands for integrity, honor, Texas, hot dogs, fastballs. I mean, everything you could ever want the guy to stand for. But at the end of the day, in terms of who's more valuable, Nolan Ryan or Jon Daniels, it's a no-brainer. Jon Daniels is far more valuable. So I hope they get this worked out. They need Nolan to stay and be the figurehead, but they don't need Nolan to be involved in day-to-day baseball ops decisions.
And the thing is, it's not like this is going to be that much of a change because it's not like he was in there every single day of the week. He was the figurehead, the CEO, the president, and I think that may be the problem that he has now is that the perception is that he is just a figurehead, and that may be why he is so upset.
You know, and think about that. We know the different hours that Nolan works as opposed to JD. You just referenced it. He's not in there every day in the grind.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But should that guy be able to come back and say, no, hey, guys, I've been doing what I've been doing over here selling hot dogs, but I heard you were about to sign this guy. Let me put the kibosh on that. Let's not do that. And those guys have to be thinking, wait a second. Wait, you can overrule us on this too. So I don't want to take anything away from the legend that is Nolan. I love Nolan and I want him involved. But Jon Daniels and his amazing staff have been incredible. Let's let them keep doing what they're doing. They've got this thing on the right track, not just now, but for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years. This cupboard is fully stocked, and it's because of JD.
And we have to say, we do all love Nolan Ryan. Now, that statement that was released today didn't say anything about Ryan's future with the team, Ben. In fact, it really didn't clear up anything, in my opinion. He still has 2 years left on his current deal with the Texas Rangers. If you look into the Ben Rogers crystal ball, we're using a Cowboys helmet right here in place of that. Do you see him being with the Texas Rangers for that 2 years or even beyond that?
I do think he's going to stay. I'm hearing, I mean, just as we were going to air, I was trading texts with a good source who was saying, no, you better slow your roll on that again. I don't think it's a given that he comes back. But I do think he'll end up staying. I don't know what all this is about. It's got to be about ego, though, right? It's got to, because they've been talking about this since November. They knew that this change was coming down the pike. This wasn't a surprise for Nolan Ryan, but suddenly Nolan Ryan is upset about it. And Nolan Ryan wants everybody to come over and say, hey, remember me? I'm Nolan Ryan. I'm a legend. You can't treat me like this. But ultimately, all that matters is that JD stays in charge of baseball operations. Would love to have Nolan here, but if he leaves, it's not the end of the world.
At the end of the day, though, isn't it all about winning? And I'm going to speak hypothetically here. If the Rangers go on and they win the World Series in 2013, would anybody remember what happened at this point in January, February, March, versus if they go and have a terrible season, everyone's going to point to this? Isn't it all about what happens on the field throughout the course of the season?
Absolutely, Gina. It's about what happens on the field, but I think fans sometimes get caught up in the emotion of it. And so they're looking at the brand of Nolan Ryan as opposed to the baseball skills, the operations management skills of JD and his amazing staff of guys. And so people are thinking, wait, we need the guy who hogtied Robin Ventura, the guy who took a Bo Jackson fastball off his face. You know, we need that guy. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the people most responsible for this are John Daniels and his front office. You saw what happened to Theo Epstein. He left the Red Sox. They got little compensation for that. JD could leave, Thad could leave, AJ Preller could leave, and then you lose. I mean, we're talking about the brand of Nolan Ryan versus a baseball ops department of 30-plus guys who are the most elite in all of baseball. We need them all to coexist. But if they can't coexist, JD and his company, his guys, represent the Jimmy faction. They're the brains of the operation. Nolan, unfortunately, and people aren't going to like to hear this, he represents the Jerry Jones faction. But since Nolan doesn't own the team, Simpson and Davis, those guys own the team. Looks like they're making the right decision. They're trying to keep it all together, but if you can only keep one of those two, it's an easy decision.
And the thing is, though, there are a lot of people in the Rangers organization who are loyal to the day they die to Nolan Ryan. So there's going to be some friction if this does, in fact, fester and grow even further. There could be some friction within the Rangers just organization overall.
And I hope there's not. We need Nolan. We need to see him at the ball games. We need to know that, hey, it just feels good knowing Nolan Ryan is involved with the Texas Rangers. But look, we also need Nolan to kind of get over this. This is really, to me, this seems about ego stroking. And we kind of thought, hey, Nolan, you're a legend. You've accomplished all these things. Who cares about ego? You don't need to be the head guy in charge. But ultimately, it sounds like that's what this is, and that's the part that worries me the most. Hopefully, they'll get it all worked out.
Well, in continuing with this whole drama theme, we're following the Romo extension. Free agency starts this week in the NFL. Dallas is nearly $7 million over the salary cap. The Cowboys need to restructure some deals to get room to maneuver when free agency begins Tuesday afternoon. We know they can create room by signing Tony Romo to an extension and lowering his $16.8 million hit. The question about the past 2-3 weeks, past couple months, frankly, will the Cowboys and Romo agree to a new contract by Tuesday?
I don't think it'll happen by Tuesday. I think it'll go on a little bit longer. I think the Cowboys will get under the cap by Tuesday. They won't be able to sign any free agents until they get Romo inked, but I do think they'll get this deal done. And, you know, if I were Romo, I would want to leave. I'd want to get away from a team run by Jerry. I'd want to get away from these crazy fans who don't appreciate how good he is. He's the best player on this football team, and most of the people watching this show right now take him for granted.
Well, Stephen Jones has said, the Cowboys chief operating officer and the man who does a lot of negotiating for the Cowboys, he has said, we want to pay Tony Romo. We want to reward him, and yet we're not really hearing anything about what's going on in these negotiations, which is rare, because if they're usually pretty intensive, things usually do get leaked, I should say. Do you think this is an indication that Tony wants substantially more than what the Cowboys are willing to give, or that they are just miles, Grand Canyon miles, apart from coming to any sort of agreement on a deal?
No, I just think it's a negotiation, and I think it'll get worked out over time. I don't think Romo is going to be unreasonable, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be unreasonable. I know that I'm riding the fence on this one, and I apologize. I truly think this will get worked out. It's just going to take time, and Cowboy fans should hope that it does.
What's the bigger story? Romo does sign an extension or does not sign one?
It should be a no-brainer that he signs. I think the bigger story would be that he doesn't. And boy, hello, Clint Sterner days and all those terrible days. People forget how good they have it with Romo.
It is not 1-800-DIAL-A-QUARTERBACK. This we do know. Okay, more with Ben Rogers in just a moment. Arlington native Luke Joeckel's life is about to change in a very big way. There's a good chance that the Aggie lineman could become just the second North Texas native to be taken #1 overall in the NFL draft, joining Highland Park's Matt Stafford, who was the #1 pick by the Lions in 2009. Steve Dennis visited with Joeckel and his family at A&M's Pro Day and found out that this whole football thing truly is a family affair. There is no doubt Cowboys fans would love to see Luke Joeckel in a Dallas uniform. They shouldn't even dream, should they, Ben?
No, Cowboys won't be able to get up that high, but what a great story. Great job by Steve on that one. But no, I don't think anything they can do to protect Romo, I'd be for, because again, I think he's their best player. And if you lose Romo, your season's over. But unfortunately, they won't be able to get that high.
I think they need to draft anything with a line at the end of that player. Line, something line, offensive line. Yes, I like that very much. Okay, let's go to the Dallas Mavericks now. Mavericks looking for their 3rd straight win tonight. Dallas in Minnesota. No Sean Marion, who missed the 2nd straight game with a calf injury. How about Vince Carter? 4 of 5 from behind the arc, including this one. Dallas up double digits at the break. In the second half, Dirk Nowitzki with the bucket off the assist from Darren Collison. He finished a rebound shy of a double-double. Nowitzki dropped in 16 points. Dallas wins 100-77. It's the largest margin of victory on the road for the Mavericks this year. Ben, I feel like the Mavericks are toying with their fans' emotions with victories like these. You saw what they did over Detroit just earlier this past week. Now they're within 3 games of the Lakers for that 8th and final playoff spot. Should Mavs fans give up hope, though, of a postseason this year, or keep that hope alive?
You know, at this point, I don't think there's any reason to give up hope. I mean, you really, in my opinion, you either want to have a shot at the first pick of the draft or a shot at a title. I don't think the Mavericks necessarily have a shot at either, but it will be fun and entertaining just to see if they can catch the playoffs. I mean, I don't think they can, because the Lakers have all that talent. I was talking to somebody on the way up here, and they said, well, if the Lakers go 12-8, then the Mavs have to go 16-4 or something like that, and it just seems too tall of an order. However, I am excited about this offseason because I'm still dreaming about Dwight to Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
I do think it's a possibility. I do think Dwight Howard will be in play for the Mavericks. Even
though he is seemingly a mental head case, you would take the hot mess that is Dwight Howard?
Absolutely. I'd take that hot mess in a second. I mean, he is a freak. He's one of the best centers in all of basketball, one of the best physical specimens in the history of the game. Yeah, he's dealing with some drama there in L.A., but I just think he's more immature than he is a head case like Cousins or something like that. I don't think he's completely lost. I just think he's dealing with a lot of drama and he's immature. I think Cuban could deflect a lot of that drama that he faces in L.A.
Speaking of Mark Cuban, from Mark Cuban's legal issues to the newly named NRA 500 and Blake Griffin getting nailed you-know-where. It is time for Babe Laufenberg's take on all of the above. It's our newest segment. You've been waiting for it. Babes, spin on the world. My head is spinning, too. I need aspirin, Advil, and all of the above, Ben.
Yeah, I could use the same. Fascinating stuff there.
Yeah, Babe went there. You can send all your emails to him on that. And I do feel sorry for Blake Griffin. I do. Yeah. It's never happened to me, but I know it hurts, and I feel sorry for him.
Thank you. All men out there understand.
They understand.
Very painful.
Okay, we're coming back right after this here on The Score. What a week for Tiger Woods at Doral. Did he finish off his record-setting performance today at the Blue Monster? First, though, it's time for the Sports City Toyota trivia question. Entering this year's Masters at age 37, Tiger Woods has 14 major championships in 60 starts. How many majors did Jack Nicklaus have at age 37? The answer still ahead on The Score.